Greetings, everyone, and welcome to GameFace episode 469, TLDR. What does that mean? It means that it's the same GameFace you know and love, that's usually around 3 hours long, cut down to 1 hour. Now, this new version of GameFace is inspired by an old podcast I used to host called Invisible Walls on game trailers. You may remember that. You guys love the 1 hour format there, so we're trying it here. We have an awesome show for you guys this week. We're going to talk about Phil Spencer and Sarah Bond leaving Xbox. We're going to talk about PlayStation inexplicably cutting Bluepoint Studios from its roster of first-party studios. We're going to review High on Life 2. We're going to preview Replaced. We have a great episode for you guys. And of course, alongside me to do that, as always, is the one, the only, the incomparable Matt Keil. What's going on, Matt?
Oh, there's many of us.
Yeah. Well, many with the same name, but not that are the same, is what I would argue. How's your week been?
It's all right.
Sitting watching the video game industry just drop one of the biggest episodes of GameFace right on our laps?
Yeah, not... Is everyone using AI to make choices already? Are we doing that?
Feels like we're already there.
Feels like... Because I know that couldn't have been the Xbox thing, because all this started like 15 years ago. But... I don't know. They're pretty advanced in there. Maybe they were making dumb choices with computer algorithms long before we even knew.
It's possible. This is the week.
It certainly would explain some of that copy protection stuff.
Yeah. This is the week of bad decisions in the video game industry, which means it creates an opportunity to have an awesome episode of GameFace right here. So hopefully you guys are buckled in and ready to go because it has been a crazy week in the games industry. We're going to talk about Sarah Bond and Phil Spencer leaving Xbox. We're going to talk about PlayStation killing Bluepoint Software. Software or Studios? Studios, I think it is.
I think Studio.
Just two of crazy decisions that have kind of rocked the entire games industry. We're going to talk about that. We're going to review High on Life 2. We're going to cover Replace this week. We've got an awesome show for you guys.
Bluepoint Games.
Bluepoint Games. So it's awful on both counts. It's LS Cream, the fine cream liqueur crafted by fellow gamer and sifter Stevens Charles. Inspired by the Haitian drink crémasse, LS Cream delivers an award-winning experience with every single pour. One sip and you'll see why. It's a party favorite. The silky blend of fresh cream and premium neutral grain spirits mixes great with everything. I dare you to put a shot in your coffee. I've been drinking it for years and still, I find new combinations that taste incredible. LS Cream is the kind of drink that keeps surprising you thanks to its notes of vanilla, cinnamon, nutmeg, and coconut. Take it to any gathering and watch it steal the spotlight. We've never seen anyone resist. Ready to join the fan club? Head to creamls.com/sifted for recipes, retailers, and online orders. That's creamls.com/sifted. It's time to get on with GameFace episode 469. And of course, you know what we're going to kick off the show with. The biggest news in the last 2-3 years, you think, Matt?
I guess. I mean, you could argue that it's part of the last...
It is.
Like
it's the
years.
end result of the last, 8 years, it feels like.
It's the inevitable end point of what we saw at that Xbox press conference in 2010.
Right? That's a good way to put it. That started it. Here's the end of it.
We were going to get here no matter what after that day.
Yeah. Well, keeping the same management team in place for sure. Yeah. And so if you've been I hate even using this phrase, if you've been living under a rock, if you've been hiding in a cave, then you wouldn't know.
If you've been an Xbox gamer... You may not know that.
Yeah. And somebody in chat, Fire
Xbox
Native,
sucks.
is like, Fire Native's got it right. It all started with that press conference with TV.
ESPN.
Yeah, yep.
As Penny Arcade said, this is more exciting than the time Johnny Sports scored that thing and made that goal.
Yeah.
And won that stuff.
Yep. Well, if you haven't heard, Xbox's management was completely turned upside down. Phil Spencer, the head of Xbox for probably the last 14 years.
Something like that.
Like that. And Sarah Bond, the CEO of Xbox, was that her title?
I think, no, she was something else. Because I think she resigned because she was not being promoted to CEO of Xbox.
Well, we'll get to why she stepped down. That's going to be an interesting discussion trying to figure that out.
But
bottom line
I don't think it's that difficult.
Phil says he's retiring. Do you believe that?
I mean, I think he took a huge severance payout. I think he took a golden parachute.
So he could say he was retiring to get the severance?
I mean, it does not strike me as though this was planned by either of them.
Although, if you dig in...
Sarah Bond was putting up polls about Xbox that morning.
Sarah Bond, definitely not.
No.
Phil, though, if you start digging into the story, so apparently last February, he took a very long vacation.
He did, but last July, he said he wasn't going to step down anytime soon.
He didn't. Their publicity person said he's not going to step down anytime soon. Because he came back from that vacation... And people were like, damn, he was gone for a long time. People said that he wasn't returning emails about important stuff. And people were like, is he coming back ever? And then he did come back. And that's when people in the office started talking about it. And that got out. Yeah, Someone reported on it. And then that's when their PR person stepped in and said, not anytime soon.
I don't think any of that has anything to do with this. Well, I think this is a very recent development.
Well, the rest of the story is Phil claims that last fall he went to Sadella, the head of Microsoft, and told him, he's like, I'm done. Like, I'm ready to get out of here. And that's when they started working on his exit plan, how it was all going to happen. Now, that announcement was not supposed to come out when it did. IGN caught wind of it and was going to post a story about it, and they wanted to get out ahead of IGN, so they actually ended up releasing that information a few days earlier than they wanted to. So the final note of that is Phil Spencer out, Sarah Bond out. Sarah Bond, according to most reports, really only figured it out like a few weeks beforehand, because she said that she had been working with this new person whose name is Asha Sharma. She said that she's been working with Asha for 3 weeks, like transitioning her over to the job. So they did know about 3 weeks in advance, but again, the reason she was caught off guard and was still posting polls and stuff was they weren't supposed to announce it for a few more days. And so that's why she kind of got caught with her pants down a little bit. So anyway, Asha Sharma, she looks like she's like 28 years old. And she comes from Microsoft's AI department, which has not been successful.
No.
As hard as Microsoft pushes it.
It's an AI department. Yeah.
But you look at like ChatGPT and stuff like that, like they actually have like some traction.
Even among AI believers, Copilot is sort of like the dumbass of the group. Because it's like, it doesn't do anything. Good luck with those new Xbox PCs, because they're not going to... Basically, you're going to have to tell Copilot you want to launch Halo 5 or whatever. It's not going to let you press a button anymore, it sounds like.
Well, I have a handful of questions that I want to answer through this, and hopefully you and I can get to the bottom of it. The first one I want to answer is, why did this happen? Is this because of Game Pass? So here's the thing. A lot of people are blaming Sarah Bond because she was the person who had to execute a lot of these plans. But again, if you start digging into, like The Verge did a great report where it talked to Microsoft employees. If you start digging into that, like most of the people that are saying that worked there, that these were Phil's ideas and Sarah was the one who had to execute them. Which
is how the hierarchy would
that's usually how it works. Now, if you also read that report by The Verge, which was great, by the way, they talk about how people were not enjoying working around Sarah Bond. Although they did say this was Sarah Bond's idea, this is an Xbox. They said that was all her idea, and everybody at Microsoft hated it. But generally...
I mean, if this is the direction you're going, what else can you do?
Yeah.
I thought that was one of the few smart things they did, was to sort of take away the idea that an Xbox has to be this console you buy. Because if this is the direction you're going with the brand... What other choice do you have? You have to turn it into a label instead of a brick, basically.
Yeah. So people said that she is catching flack for a lot of stuff that Phil Spencer thought was a good idea. But to your point, Matt, I think you were right on the money when you said that she left because she didn't get Phil's job.
Yeah.
Like when Phil went to them in November of last year and said, hey, I'm leaving, instead of them talking to Sarah about getting that job, they probably talked to a bunch of people and then hired Asha, who has literally has never worked a day.
Yeah, no game industry
in the video game. She has. Is that good or bad?
At this point, who cares?
Does it even matter?
Does it matter? I mean, is anyone able to save this?
That's one of my last questions that we're going to get to in a minute.
That's my thing. Is does it mean? I mean, I'm certainly skeptical in the sense that I don't think the person who ran the AI division that's going down in flames is probably the best. But then who knows? No one could save that AI division. No one could make Copilot a success, I don't think. So I don't think I really want to judge her by the performance of the AI division.
Yeah, I get that.
But like, I don't know, man. Like, Sarah Bond seems to have gotten a pretty good payout one way or the other. So it's like maybe it's better to get off the ship at this point. I mean, I understand like you're following Phil's orders for however long and having to deal with all the dumb boneheaded decisions that have been happening, and maybe you wanted your own shot at making your own choices on this. But like, I don't know. Like
her not being a gamer, to me, at first my knee-jerk reaction was like, oh, that sucks, because she just got her first achievement like 5 weeks ago. Like, she literally is not a gamer at all.
I don't think you need to be a gamer to run a company properly.
I agree, because we've had a hardcore gamer running Xbox for the last 20 years.
Yeah.
Phil Spencer is a legitimate hardcore gamer. It's not fake. That's who he is. And look at what happened. It didn't work. So, to me, Asha not being a gamer, that's not a detriment to me.
No, it's sort of like we've had an expert opinion, now let's see what a non-expert opinion can do, sort of thing.
Or just someone who comes in with fresh eyes and looks at things in a different way and just looks at things from a business perspective instead of some other way. But to me, that could be an advantage, I think.
I don't think it matters. I think everything seems to be on fire over there right now in terms of like sort of longevity, and especially in terms of, you know, trying to launch these handhelds that can't be manufactured anymore because of the chip shortages and expenses, and trying to launch these little PCs that are now Xboxes that are probably also going to be hit with crazy amounts of inflation on parts and stuff. Like I would not want to be in charge of Xbox right now.
It's a tough gig.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about it.
But maybe if you're working near the head of the Copilot AI division, you're like, hey, this has got to be better than what we're doing now, right?
Yeah.
Because it feels like that's headed for a wall at some point. So maybe this is her escape. It seems like Xbox as a brand would probably coast on inertia longer than her previous division. So maybe that'll work out okay. I don't know. I mean, I saw like Seamus was posting it. Was just like, well, I guess that's the end of. He's like, I guess that's the end of that.
He is one of the co-founders of Xbox.
Oh yeah.
So he totally gets it.
No.
He believes that Asha is being brought in to basically sunset Xbox. I don't believe that.
I don't think that's what she's being brought in to do, but I think it is what's
going to happen.
Have to do. Like I in the sense that I don't think they're telling her like you are coming into to basically hook the suicide machine up to Xbox and let them press the button. But I think that will indeed be what she has to what has to be done. I don't think you get rid of the revenue of making these games and publishing them on PlayStation and PC and pulling that in. But as a console, Xbox is over.
So Asha was on social media, and of course the Xbox gamers are all over her. They're like, hey, what's your gamer tag? She gives them the gamer tag. They go and check. They see that her first achievement was 5 weeks ago. They're starting to get suspicious. They start saying to her, like, hey, you guys should go back to the old model where you just sell your games. And she replies to them and says, I'm listening. Like, that might be on the table. Do you think that Game Pass is going to sort of go onto the back burner and they're going to focus on their consoles and selling their exclusive games again?
I don't think they'll focus on their consoles. I think hardware is a dead end for them right now. But I do think moving past the Game Pass experiment and maybe just going back to a more traditional method of we are going to sell you a product and get money for that might be the correct choice.
Yeah.
Because it seems to be working. I mean, the only thing you can really look at as a tangible, concrete success in recent times of Xbox is Forza Horizon 5 on PlayStation.
You don't think that the consoles are going to come and kind of step up and be like on the front of mind instead of Game Pass going forward?
I don't think either.
Because she did say the console's still coming. She mentioned that.
They're going to try it, but I don't think it's going to matter. Like I think you can try. Yeah, you can give lip service to that idea as much as you want, but they are not going to make a dent in anything other than the wallets of the few people dumb enough to buy them, frankly. And I don't think that's really entirely Microsoft's fault. Like, these things are just going to cost a lot to make because of how much RAM costs and how much graphics cards cost. I mean, there's no way around that.
Yeah,
like, there's no way around the AI price hikes of all these components, and there's no way around the tariffs for now.
Another question. Is it too late for Xbox to change course? Is this a Titanic situation where there's no way to turn the ship away from the iceberg at this point?
I think so. I mean, I don't think the ship has to sink. I think the ship has to pivot into being an island, basically. Basically, I think you can turn Xbox into a publishing arm, a brand. But I think its time as a platform is over. I'm sure they'll try again in 20 years or something, but like, I don't see a way to salvage this again in the face of just the monolith that is PlayStation and the energy of Switch. Like, I don't see how you compete with those two things.
So they launched a new console. It tanks. What happens?
I think the new console kind of languishes. They don't make a second run of them. They continue to make the Rogue allies. If Rogue can still produce units at that point, we'll see what things cost by then. But you continue making your software and you continue publishing your software on every platform you can get it on.
Just doing what they're doing right now, basically.
Right now,
and keep Game Pass going.
Keep Game Pass going, but it's not really your focus anymore.
What do you do about Game Pass though?
If you can't get Game Pass on PlayStation, forget it.
Or what about on Netflix or something like that?
I don't see how you get these games on that. I mean, I guess you do like cloud stuff.
You just partner and cloud it, yeah.
But there's no like, what does that get you, really?
Less of the money, because you're going to have to give Netflix a
I think
cut.
it's much better to just try to sell copies. Sell copies of games.
Physical, not well, it doesn't matter.
Either
Physical
way.
or digital.
Probably digital, most likely. Sell copies of games on game platforms. You know, the business model that has sustained this medium for 45 years.
Yeah.
Maybe try that for a change. Sony is leaving you that window.
It is.
So
the door. Step through that door. Seriously.
Because you know what Xbox is making that Sony isn't? Single-player fucking video games.
Yeah.
Like, games you can play however you want that aren't, like, lifestyle online games. There's a niche for them there.
It's hard to message to people a change in something that's been going on for a long time. Everybody now is like, they're Game Pass, and they don't really care about consoles anymore. And that's just who Xbox is now. And now trying to change that messaging after 5 years of kind of pounding the pavement with that same messaging over and over again, it can be hard to reverse. Well, it's like the price for Game Pass at $30 right now. I think about it every month when it rolls over and I get charged that $30. And I look at what's coming. I'm like, should I keep it? Should I get rid of it? And I keep it because I need it for work, basically.
I killed it immediately when they hiked the price.
And I can understand why a lot of people would.
I still have the PC one, but that's way cheaper than...
Yeah, way cheaper.
It was worth trying it.
Well, I think it was a good idea when it was $15.
Yeah, absolutely.
So let's try to predict. I know it's hard, but let's both try to predict what's going to happen with Xbox. I'll start. I think that Game Pass is going to get its price lowered pretty soon. I don't know if it'll go back down to like that $15, but I think they'll chop at least $10 off of it. I do think they'll take some stuff away from that. I think that Microsoft and Xbox is going to get a lot more picky with games that go on Game Pass on day one. I think it's going to use those as bait or promotional things to get people to sign up for Game Pass. Like,
basically, it become PlayStation Plus.
Kind of, yeah. Which is kind of funny. You never would have dreamed that PlayStation Plus would end up being the market leader that everyone's going to follow. But they have more subscribers than Game Pass does, which is crazy.
And on top of that, they still get people to buy their exclusives because it's like, well, we're not giving you God of War Ragnarok day one.
Yeah.
So give us $60. And people did.
Yep. So. They'll launch the console. The console will flop out of the gate. You won't hear anything about it forever. They'll have it. I think they'll keep it for sale for years and years for their hardcore fans if they want to buy it. If they want to keep buying physical games or whatever. Like, I think they'll have it there. But also, we got to remember, the next Xbox is basically a PC. And so Microsoft probably isn't even going to manufacture most of the next Xbox. They'll have all these other companies.
Partners do it. Yeah, Microsoft isn't going to manufacture any of that.
Yeah, but those other partners are also going to lose their asses on this. And are going to have inventory sitting in a warehouse somewhere. So I think that.
I think those partners are not going to actually make that many.
Yeah, they'll make $1 million or $2 million maybe.
If that.
Yeah. But that's an expensive run. If you're only making that many, that's going to cost you a lot per unit.
Microsoft's paying you for it. So
yeah, you'll get subsidized or whatever.
And then you'll be able to liquidate when you have to. And the nice thing is, you've still got all the components in there. All you got to do is change the case.
Yeah.
And just put a thing that doesn't say Xbox on it, and there's one of your own units now.
I do think at launch, Microsoft may experiment with having a couple of games exclusive to their console at launch. I think they may go back to that old model at launch with a couple games, see how it goes. If it doesn't move the needle, they'll go back to the way they were. And ultimately, in 3 years...
What game do you think would do that?
Well, Halo's already coming out on PlayStation. That's already announced. But I wouldn't even be surprised if Microsoft kind of goes back on some of those statements and says, you know what, we've changed our mind and we're not going to put out Halo on PlayStation.
I don't think they will, because that's just Halo 1.
It is. It's a remake of the campaign from the first Halo or whatever. But I do think, like, eventually when they start getting the next Gears, maybe not E-Day, but like Gears 7 or whatever the next Gears is, you start getting into that stuff. Like, maybe the next new Halo they have ready for the launch of the next console. Maybe that's exclusive. You get people hooked on it on PlayStation. Then you use it as bait for the launch of the next console.
But the one on PlayStation doesn't even have multiplayer, so what's going to get them hooked?
Well, the Halo universe or whatever. I'm not saying it's going to work. I'm just saying this is what I think they'll do. And then 3 years from now, I think you're going to have Game Pass at a cheaper price. You're going to have a stream-only Game Pass for like $9.99 a month, and they're just going to sell their software. And because all this will have failed, and in 3 years after they've launched their console and that has failed, they will just go full-on third-party publisher, day and date on every platform that they can. We're talking about PlayStation. I thought when this story broke that this was going to be the headlining story for GameFace 469.
I mean, to be honest, this still is the headlining story for me.
This is a bigger story to you?
This is a bigger story to me.
Interesting. Yes. So this week, PlayStation announced that it has completely killed and dissolved Bluepoint Studios?
Games.
Damn it. If you remember, Bluepoint at first was known as just a port, remake, remaster studio. It worked on the best, by far the best. It worked on Shadow of the Colossus and then Demon Souls. Is that right?
They did the Demon Souls remake, complete remake. They also they did a lot of stuff on those PlayStation 3 remasters, of trilogy remasters. I think they did the God of War one. And maybe the Sucker Punch one. Like they basically were able to work some pretty solid magic in remastering like older games.
They were known across the industry as the best.
Yeah, they were. As soon as someone said like, "Oh, we're doing an update of this older game," and everyone's like, "It's Bluepoint," everyone just relaxed.
Yeah,
it's like, oh,
we know it's going to be good.
It'll be great. Yeah.
And so PlayStation purchased the studio, and that made perfect sense because it had worked on a bunch of PlayStation properties. And then shortly after it announced that it had bought the studio, it also shared that Bluepoint was working on an original game, and that it was not going to be working on a remaster or a remake as a part of Sony Worldwide Studios. And then we found out that it was working on a God of War live service game because that's what PlayStation is doing. It's forcing all of its internal studios to try to come up with live service games so that it will have that recurring, never-ending line of revenue. And as luck would have it, like pretty much all the other service games that Sony tried to make, it did not end up working out, and they canceled the game. And just this week, we find out from Herman Hulst that the studio has been killed. And in all honesty, the excuses and the reasoning that were given for this was insane.
This is basically your confirmation that PlayStation is run by complete morons.
Nincompoops.
It's the dumbest thing I've seen in the game industry in years. The dumbest choice I've seen in I don't remember how long. These are some of your star people. Like, all you need to do... Oh, is games are too expensive to make now? Then send these guys out to fucking remaster some of your older hits and give people something to play and buy. It's like a 100-person team. This costs you nothing. They already worked on Ragnarok and level design. They are able to do whatever support jobs you need them to do. Like,
here's my question, Matt. What is the one game that PlayStation fans have been begging, not asking, begging PlayStation for the last 10 years?
Just have them remake Bloodborne and rake in an easy 5 to 7 million units.
They'll sell more than that.
Like, what are you doing?
This will be like Elden Ring height. They made the Demon Souls remake. What better pedigree do you need to remake Bloodborne?
Which, by the way, still is one of the best looking games of the last 10 years.
It's insane. Like, I actually went and played Bloodborne last night. Can you believe that, Matt? I installed it and played it for like 10 minutes last night.
I do that every once in a while just to remember.
People want a remake or a remaster or a sequel to this game more than anything. And what studio is better to do it than Bluepoint? None. There is no studio better to do these games internally at PlayStation than Bluepoint was. It makes no sense. So let's say that there's some kind of weird licensing issue with From Software or some goofy thing that's keeping them from remaking, remastering Bloodborne or doing Bloodborne 2. Okay. What about those other properties you have just lying around doing nothing? SOCOM, this property that's just has been lying there for decades with nobody touching it. There are so many PlayStation IP properties that have had nothing going on for over a decade that they could have put them on any of them. They have built-in interest. It makes no sense to me, Matt. None of this makes any sense.
The only one of their majors that's still producing at this point is Insomniac. Like, we're probably not going to get a new Naughty Dog game this gen, certainly not exclusively this gen. We'll probably get Intergalactic. Will probably be hybrid PS5 and PS6 when it comes out.
We got the release date for Wolverine this morning, September 15th. So, Insomniac going to deliver another game.
Insomniac's still delivering. Sucker Punch still delivering. But it takes them longer, so we're only probably one game this generation, plus the updates for Yote.
Yeah.
But instead, they've just wasted tons of time and employees and effort and money on this games as a service thing that has simply not paid off for them.
Yeah, I mean, Erebus brings up in our chat, you have Sony Santa Monica remastering old God of War games. Why wouldn't you have Bluepoint do that instead of Sony Santa Monica? Like, why?
I'm honest. There were a lot of people.
They worked on God of War Ragnarok.
There's a lot of people that were speculating that that's what Bluepoint was doing now. I mean, I know Bluepoint wanted to work on their own stuff at some point, but it's like, survival requires.
Yeah, I think if you went to them and said, "Look, bro, like you're not going to make your own game. You're going to remake the God of War trilogy," they'd been like, "Okay, like you mean we can keep our jobs and we can work on the first 3 God of War games? That's awesome." It's just crazy how these studios have been completely mismanaged. Think about like studios like Firesprite. There's that other one called like Golden Koi or whatever that they started to do a service game. They canceled the service game and the studio never did anything and they cut the studio. Then you've got Haven, which, is working on Fair Games. They lost their lead developer, what, was that 6 months ago now that Jade Raymond
Close to
left?
it, yeah.
Somewhere around there?
I mean, that game sounds doomed.
Is this game going to come out? Probably not.
Yeah.
You put Naughty Dog on a live service game that it worked on for like 3 years, wasted 3 years at Naughty Dog. And now, not only that, now you have Guerrilla working on a live service game that just blew the whole generation for Guerrilla 2. Like, we'll get this, in like a year and a half or 2 years, something like that? And that's it for Guerrilla this gen. They relaunched Forbidden West, but that straddled both gens, right? That was also playable on PS4. Or was it PS5 only?
I think it was on PS4, but the expansion was only PS5.
Okay.
With the flying and stuff.
So Guerrilla also has basically lost this whole generation.
Yeah.
They're going to release this game.
I mean, they're lucky that, like, as I've said many times, like, people just associate PlayStation with video games. Like, people don't really draw a distinction between the fact that Sony doesn't publish Call of Duty or Fortnite or whatever, the things that the staples of video games, right? They don't really think about, or Assassin's Creed or whatever you want to call it. Like, they just know that they play that on PlayStations and always have. So, to some degree, Sony has some insulation from that Xbox and Nintendo don't, really. But you wonder how long that lasts. You wonder how, and I just don't know. Like, as long as people got their Madden and their COD and their FIFA, maybe they're fine. And maybe PlayStation continues as sort of the thing that plays video games, which is sort of what it's been for the last 30 years.
Yeah.
But it seems like at a certain point, Sony would want to get their act together on this stuff. And I know kind of understand where they were coming from in terms of this giant gas, like movement and
because you hit on 2 of them, you're in the money. Yeah,
but like they made that choice how many years ago, and it's very clear that is no longer the market that they made that choice in. And it feels like you should have pivoted sooner.
Well, sadly, the market is still there. I mean, still the kids are only playing 5 different games.
Right, but that's the whole point. Is like the market isn't there. That's not a market. That's a saturation.
Yeah.
Like, what in the world do you think you have
that's going to pull them away?
Because you don't need to just make a game that's worth playing. You need to make a game that's going to pull people away from whatever thing they're already playing.
I think Arc Raiders is one of the worst things that has happened to the industry in a long time because it just renewed the industry's idea that you can still make a game as a service and get rich.
I mean, you could argue that Helldivers 2 did that.
That did it too.
But
the
most important lesson to take from those 2 things is that nobody planned those 2 games to be that, and no one expected Helldivers 2 to be that. You can't predict it.
I didn't like Arc Raiders or Helldivers 2.
And that's
funny.
sort of the thing where it's like, Sony did sort of seem to get that you need to just throw 12 plates of spaghetti at the wall and see which one sticks.
Yeah.
But Helldivers 2 is the one that's stuck, and it's time to stop now.
Yeah.
Like, it's like no one's gonna stop playing Fortnite or Roblox or Arc Raiders to play this game.
Yeah. I mean, you've released some great games. Concord is a good game. But people didn't care. They checked out, and then PlayStation checked out, and in 2 weeks it gave up.
And that's exactly what I mean when I say that, like, it's too chaotic to pin your whole business model on. Like, there is not really... I mean, look, yes, the first time I saw the first trailer for this, 30 seconds in, I'm like, fuck this game.
Yeah.
I'd have no interest in this. But I couldn't even fully tell you why.
Yeah. And it's such an X factor. You can't quantify it or ever guarantee that you can nail it.
But you know what I can guarantee? That Insomniac's Wolverine game is going to get Game of the Year nominations and sell millions of copies.
It's going to sell like 10 million units in like 3 months. Yeah.
Then that the same thing's going to happen with Intergalactic.
Yep.
And the same thing's going to happen with God of War 3 whenever you get around to putting that out. So why don't you do both those things? And in fact, the fact that there's never not going to be a market for God of War 3 or Ghosts of Tsushima 3 or whatever Ghost of whatever it is, or God of or Last of Us 3 or whatever you want to say about their big cinematic bread and butter, the things they built the PlayStation brand on since basically 2005. Like, why are you continuing to pull the slot machine lever when you've got a guaranteed poker hand on the other table over there?
What they're doing with games as a service is like going to the casino and trying to make your rent on the last day of the month playing blackjack.
Right. You are accepting failure in probably 10 or 11 out of 12 cases.
Yeah.
And now that you've had your one case with Helldivers 2, you might just be looking at 11 more failures, right?
Yeah.
You have to be ready to absorb that. And the way to absorb that is not to shut down your best studios like Bluepoint. And what are you left with after that? For God's sake, Sony Bend still exists.
Yeah, I know.
Like, what are you doing?
Maybe not for long.
I guess
Which
not.
is crazy that Bluepoint got cut before Sony
Right?
Bend got cut.
And it's not like Bluepoint was taking up a ton of your fucking resources.
I know.
It's a tiny...
It's a support studio as well. It can help all your other studios.
Yeah, there's no downside to having Bluepoint in your stable.
People need to learn how to say no to PlayStation. Until you stop buying PlayStation 5s and buying games for PlayStation, they're not going to change because it doesn't even need to sell first-party software to make a ton of money.
But they can't... How do you do that? Because they're the only thing now.
Right. That's my point. It's like, now it's a monopoly. I don't know if there's any answer to this now.
There isn't really.
Because Xbox, per our earlier discussion, is probably leaving the console market.
Yeah.
So,
well, and even if they weren't, they're not a competitor. They're not a factor in there.
And Switch 2 is too weak. It can't run the same games as PlayStation 5 natively. And so it's not a real competitor to PlayStation 5. And so we're left with PlayStation, literally of the big three, the one that has treated players the worst over the last 7 years of the three. PlayStation has replaced Nintendo as the default phrase for video games. Go play your PlayStation. It used to be in the 80s and the 90s. Go play your Nintendo. Now it's go play your PlayStation. And they can do whatever they want, and there's no repercussions for it. And so we're going to keep getting games as a service. We're going to keep getting studios shut down that should not be shut down. And we're going to keep getting less single-player games, which is what we all want. That's where we are. And I don't feel like there's anything we can do about it. We're never going to convince people to stop buying PlayStation 5.
No, well, because what else are you going to play on?
Yeah, I wouldn't even feel good telling someone to buy an Xbox.
I guess you'd require someone to be dumb enough to try to jump, a big multi-billion-dollar company would have to be dumb enough to try to jump into the console market.
Yeah.
And who's going to do that? And even if they did...
Not now.
Even if they did, who's going to make it... I mean, you're in the same boat as Sony trying to make these games as a service games. Who are you going to pull away from that? That's already their lifestyle. That's the thing about these games as service games. You have time in your life to play maybe one or two tops.
Yep.
So anything you put out not only has to be good to play on its own merits, but good enough to pull someone away from this other thing that they're... Because it's not even that like, oh, I'll just spend a week playing this instead. You spend a week playing that instead, you're missing a week of whatever things you're trying to accomplish and goals and weekly goals or whatever, and missions and whatever on the live service game you're playing.
You're missing your
normally.
Battle Pass stuff.
You're missing all that stuff.
Yep.
So how do you... I mean, it's an impossible task to come through, especially because you have to start developing whatever you're developing years
so far
ahead of time. Yeah. And by the time it's coming out, it's probably old.
Yep.
Right? It's probably something that maybe the innovation was done by someone else, or maybe that's not the direction things have gone. Maybe it's not interesting anymore. Like, an Arc Raiders is an outlier.
It is. Yeah, it's an anomaly, but that's what the industry. All it needs is that one anomaly.
Right. Well, it's like that.
Look, they did it.
Right. Well, everyone who buys a lottery ticket thinks that they're going to be the anomaly, or hopes they're going to be the anomaly in that regard. But you're more likely to be struck by lightning 3 times in the same place
in one day.
In one
than
day.
win the lottery.
Yeah. But now you're never getting.
You're never getting it. That's not happening.
Bluepoint was your path to Bloodborne.
Or we'll find out at E3 this year that like Sony Bend is remaking Bloodborne.
Yeah, the monkey's paw might curl one last time. That's true.
Yep. So anyway, I don't know what the hell's going on at PlayStation. This has literally by far been the worst PlayStation generation ever for first-party software. It's not even close. I mean, it's been 6 years since the console's been on the market. Think about what PS5 games really shine. It's still Ratchet and Clank ripped apart like a launch window game.
Well, I mean, Ratchet and Clank and Demon's Souls.
Demon's Souls from Bluepoint.
But I would also say, Spider-Man 2.
Yeah.
Wolverine, I'm sure. Ghost of Yotei. The usual suspects, basically.
That's like 5 games in 6 years.
Yeah, but the continuations of those same studios who make the big boutique cinematic games that has been the PlayStation bread and butter for 3 generations now.
Yeah. But anyway, in the end, like if you ever want things to change, we say it all the time, it never changes. Bet with your wallets. I mean, literally, like, but it's too late. Like, I wouldn't tell someone to buy an Xbox at this point. I'd be a fool to tell someone to get an Xbox. If anyone asks me, I'm telling them to buy a PS5 and just play the third-party games.
And then, you can't really say buy a PC because all the prices are so crazy already. And it's going to get worse.
Yep.
So your answer is basically buy a PlayStation 5 now.
The base PS5.
And buy a Switch 2 now. And just just batten down the hatches and see what happens in the next 10 years.
Yeah.
I guess. What else do you do?
That's the only suggestions I could give.
In all honesty, at this point, if you don't have a PlayStation 5 at all, I probably would say get a PS5 Pro because it future-proofs it better.
I guess that depends on how long you think it's going to be till the PS6 is here.
I think at least 4 or 5 years.
It does feel that way. Yeah.
And I think you want something that's going to carry you past the PS6 launch because I don't think anyone's going to want to spend the money for that.
It's starting to look pretty inviting to me at this point. The PS5 Pro, even at is it $800 or
$700? I mean, it might be $800 by now.
Yeah, who knows?
I mean, it is almost $800 when you factor in tax.
I mean, we have been here for 2 hours. So
yeah, who knows? How far has inflation gone since we've been sitting here?
Seriously. Next, we're going to talk about High on Life 2. Matt, did you get a chance to play this?
No.
This is on Game Pass, but I'm not going to say it's free because I don't feel like anything on Game Pass is free anymore. It's a real decision, which is why we're going to probably start reviewing games on Game Pass a little more often than we have in the past. You played the first High on Life, right?
No.
Or you didn't. That's right. I was the one that played that too. Well, High on Life is... Oh, that also had did you see they had the teleporting people running there, just like that Shinobi game last week?
Oh, okay. Yeah.
It looked exactly like it. But anyway, High on Life is a first-person shooter made by some folks that worked on Rick and Morty, although I think that's a little bit overblown. I think that's sort of the boilerplate everyone shares about this game, but in actuality...
It's certainly inspired by Rick and Morty. I don't know how many people work.
Yeah, I think there's only actually a couple people that actually worked on Rick and Morty. But,
I imagine some of the writing.
Yeah. The bottom line is the tone of these games is Rick and Morty.
And the first game had the voice of Rick and Morty, who doesn't do the voice of Rick and Morty anymore. Mm-hmm.
And it's a first-person shooter where your guns are alive and animated, and they talk to you throughout the entire game. So the narration in this game is handled by your guns.
Yeah, it's like if Oddworld Stranger's Wrath was an edgelord.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. In the first High on Life, you were taking down a big drug cartel. And in the end of the game, you do take down the drug cartel. This game picks up, and you're seeing the B-roll right here. You're a celebrity now because you took down the cartel. Everybody loves you. You're going on talk shows. You're filthy rich. You're going on, stupid reality shows like this where you're competing with other people. You have just become the bee's knees, basically, in society because of what you did before.
I imagine that's not going to last.
It does not, Matt. So the plot kind of kicks off with you sitting around the dinner table with your family. And you're just having dinner, talking to mom and dad, and your sister's there. Well, as it turns out, your sister has become part of this resistance group that has discovered that this pharmaceutical company is basically treating humans like cattle. And their whole idea is to reclassify human beings as basically livestock. And your sister catches wind of this, and she is a part of this resistance group. And you're sitting at dinner, your dad is like, hey, you probably should get out of that. You're going to get in trouble. It's going to ruin the rest of your life, blah, blah, blah. A bounty is put on her head, and you become worried. So you kind of follow her into this underground that she's been messing around in, and you find her and you save her. What happens is a bounty hunter comes after your sister because there's a bounty on her head. You kill the bounty hunter to protect your sister, but that goes against the bro code, or against the code for mercenaries and bounty hunters. You're never ever supposed to kill another bounty hunter. So as soon as you do that, there's a bounty on your head. And now all of a sudden, all the bounty hunters are coming after you and your sister at the same time. So the game centers around you trying to navigate this conspiracy with this drug company while bounty hunters are trying to kill you and your sister. And as a topper on top of all of this, your parents in the midst of this are going to go through a divorce. Keeping in mind that this game is completely and utterly insane. Maybe that's the one thing I would say where it actually kind of falls in with Rick and Morty, is there's just so much non sequitur stuff in this game that it just catches you off guard consistently. The first thing I'm going to say about it...
better than the first one?
Yeah. The big change for this game from the first one is you now have a mount. When you kill the first bounty hunter, you get that bounty hunter's skateboard. And that skateboard becomes basically your mount throughout the entire game. At first, it's kind of awkward to use because the game's all in first person. So it's not like you're playing it like it's Tony Hawk or whatever. But once you kind of get over the hump and get used to it, it actually functions pretty well. You can fight while you're on the skateboard. You can use the skateboard to attack. While you're grinding rails, you can attack as well. So they do a pretty good job with the controls. And because the other big change for this game is that it's kind of open world. Like there's this big city area that you constantly go back to after every mission. It's actually designed a lot like Romeo as a Dead Man, which we talked about in last week's episode. There's this hub that you go back to between missions, you level up your guns, you talk to everybody, and then you get in this, basically it's an RV that you hop into, and it takes you to your next mission. You fight through the mission, you get back in the RV, it flies you back to the city hub, rinse and repeat. The design of the game is very rudimentary and very simple, and then you have like 8 different guns. And the guns in this it's a lot harder, and there's a lot more work involved in getting guns into this game than in most shooters, because as you can see in this B-roll, they're animated and they talk to you, and they all have their own personalities. The guns in this game are actually characters. And the funny part is this game turns them into characters. Like when you go back at the end of the day after you finished a mission, like your guns detach from you and attach to these like robotic bodies and kind of walk around the hub area. Like human beings, basically. So they totally personify the guns in this. So you may say, oh, there's only 8 guns in this, but there's a lot more work that goes into it than just most games where it's like, here's your SMG, here's your assault rifle, blah, blah, blah. As far as the gameplay is concerned, there's lots of shooting, but there's also lots of traversal and platforming in this. Also, the skateboard serves as a great traversal device because you can grind on rails, you can catch air out of ramps and things like that. It increases your speed drastically so you can get around a lot more quickly. And then the game is also filled with lots of environmental puzzles. There are these like orange blobs that are located throughout the game, and they can do 2 things. You can use them to weight down plates to open doors. You can also inflate them and use them as like a spring device to get you up onto high platforms that normally you couldn't reach. And they use those blob things over and over in this game. And I will say they don't really evolve how they're used all that much throughout the course of the game, but it is a big puzzle element, and there's just lots in general of puzzle platforming. Go here, flip this switch, go over here, flip this switch. Oh, that door's open, run through the door. Lots of stuff like that. But then you have to actually start playing the game, and this to me is where the game starts to falter. And generally, gameplay is certainly its weakest element, at least I think. You have the 8 different guns, and they're funny, and the writing in this is really good, Matt. I laughed out loud at this game, I don't know, probably 10, 12 times, something like that. Now, it's telling jokes constantly, so that means that like 90% of the jokes do fall flat, but I can't remember the last time I laughed at a game. And this one, I laughed like at least 10 times out loud while playing.
Dispatch, I laughed at quite a bit.
Nope, you're right. You're right, that's the last one that actually had jokes that made me laugh. This one has a ton of them that made me laugh, but also a bunch of bad ones. But I think that's kind of the Rick and Morty aesthetic as well.
No, the Rick and Morty and this kind of general style like does the police squad like Airplane, the Jerry Zucker, Mel Brooks thing, where there's so many jokes that you don't have time to acknowledge that one fell flat, because then you've already 2 jokes past that at this point.
Blazing Saddles.
And at some point you're going to find one you like.
Right.
Like,
that's what happens in this game.
It's just shotgun.
Yeah, that's how it works in this, for sure. But anyway, you have 8 guns, and they all feel like crap. Every single one of them. And they do fall into archetypes, like you get like an SMG and a shotgun, and then eventually you get a rifle. You end up getting like all the tenets of first-person shooters, but they're like personified creatures that you're actually shooting, but all of them feel like crap. It just feels like you're shooting nothing when you play this game. Now, I did play this on an Xbox controller. Maybe on the DualSense, it feels a little bit better. To me, I thought the guns felt like crap. They all serve their purpose and function well. They just don't feel well to use. And so that was a big issue for me, is just the gunplay. And that's probably 70% of the gameplay. So that was kind of a big sticking point for me. And then there are also times where things just don't work right. Like, Matt, you know how, like, when you play a good game, if you're running at the full speed the game will allow you, and they put a platforming section in front of you, the obstacles are spaced so that if you're running full speed and you jump, you land on those obstacles perfectly in time, and you can keep running at full speed. In this game, none of the level design is set up that way. They'll be like, hey, here's these 2 platforms, and you start running and you jump over that platform by like 50 feet or whatever. It ignores a lot of the basic tenets of game development that every other game uses. This game kind of disregards them in a lot of ways. Like earlier in the B-roll, you saw that there was this network of what looked like mushrooms that it looked like in any other game. You would platform across that network of mushrooms. In this, there's an invisible wall blocking the mushrooms. So they tease you, making you think, hey, I need to go this way.
That way you kept like falling off.
Yeah, I wanted to show it in the B-roll that, you can't go this way, even though it looks like you should absolutely be going that way. I don't know if it was like a part of
I did think, like, why didn't he just jump across the mushrooms?
Yep. And I don't know if it's a part of the game that they ended up cutting, and they're like, oh, we're not going to make you go this way now. Instead of taking the mushrooms out, they left them in there. I don't know. But the bottom line is this game does stuff like that all the frickin' time. There's definitely some sections of the game where it doesn't message very well, and it doesn't build the knowledge base of the player so that when they get to these places later, they know what to do.
Why am I doing this when the top tier shooter exists? Like, this feels
Why am I playing this one?
Why am I slumming it over here?
Yeah, I mean, I'll answer that. The reason you're slumming it and playing this is because it is still different than a lot of first-person shooters. Just being on a skateboard and being able to, like, skate around the environments and fight while you're on the skateboard is something that I've never done in another game. There's some places where they cut corners. There are some voice actors in this, Matt, that literally, it was just like their secretary. That they just pulled in and said, hey, can you record this? So they've definitely cut some corners here and there with this game. It is not, I wouldn't call it a AAA, but it's probably a cut above AA, I would say. But then other ways, like, they spent money smartly. Like, when you go up into your bedroom, it's playing these old 80s TV commercials. And I sat down and started watching them. I'm like, wait, that's for a real product. Like, they licensed real commercials from this, like, toy company called, like, LJN or something.
Yeah, LJN.
Yeah. But anyway, I thought that was a cool little addition, that they have real TV commercials running on their TVs that they licensed out from some people. So there's some nice touches here and there. But here's the thing about this game, and this is why I think people are short shrifting it, is that this game is just bonkers, and stuff happens in this game that does not happen in any other game and probably never will happen in another game. I wouldn't play this with my mom sitting next to me in a lot of cases. Some of the content does step out of bounds a little bit, but it's entertaining.
I mean, that's Rick and Morty, right?
Yeah, there's lots of memorable moments. Like, there's a boss fight that happens in a cornfield, and you can't see the boss because the corn is taller than you. So,
corn is as high as an elephant's eye?
Yeah, it is. And so while you're fighting the boss, you have to keep jumping up so you can see above the line of the corn to see where the boss is. And it just completely changes the whole tenor of that boss fight. Again, something I've never experienced before. You run into this alien that you, like, right next to the subway, and he has like a trench coat on, and he tells you that he wants to flash you, and he doesn't really want to flash you, so you go through this whole weird rigmarole with this guy where he keeps telling you, like, tell me you want me to flash you. And you go through, and then he doesn't flash you. And it takes like 8 minutes of your time or whatever, and then ultimately he doesn't. Like, there's just little stuff like that tucked everywhere. There's a Clue-like whodunit section of the game where you have to go around and interview a bunch of suspects and try to figure out who committed the murder. It just came out of nowhere. Sometimes you go to the menus and there are characters in the menu that you can control. It like breaks the fourth wall and makes the menus playable. There's another section of the game where you go to the menus and it plays like this Donkey Kong knockoff in the menus. There's just stuff like this all over the place. There's a boss fight that you finish on the pause screen in this game. I mean, at certain points, you're in playing this, you're just like, what the fuck? And I love it.
I mean, it sounds like Eat Lead Matt Hazard.
Look, if the goal of playing video games is to be entertained and have fun playing video games, I was entertained like crazy by this game. Even my wife was laughing at this game. Again, if the point of playing games is to be entertained and to have fun while you're doing it, this game is a winner to me. I had a lot of fun playing it, and it is on Game Pass, so conceivably you could spend $30 and play it for $30 instead of buying it if you want to. Like, I really was caught off guard regularly, and that doesn't happen for me anymore. And I will say that I place more value in that maybe than other critics do, because I have been playing games for so long that they rarely catch me off guard. So when they do,
I'm sure like there's certainly got to be quite a number of people who, when you say that all the guns feel terrible, they're out.
Yeah,
Like,
that's true. Yeah. I mean, and that is true. They do feel like crap, and the gunplay is the vast majority of the game. So if that's a deal breaker for you, that might be a problem. But to me, the way this game is designed, it's like you play each level for like 30 or 40 minutes, you go back to the hub, you never know what the next level's going to be. And it could be something completely insane that you never guess. And that was just enough to keep me going, man. Just to see what's next and what's around the next corner, what's the next gag, what's the next laugh. And ultimately, the story was pretty good too. I was pleasantly surprised by it. We're going to talk about Riot's fighting game, briefly at least. This was in last week's show. We didn't get to it. We're going to try to get to it here. We're going to talk about 2XKO, which is Riot's brand new fighting game that features characters from League of Legends. I was a big League of Legends player. I had to quit playing when I launched SIFTD because we were about a year and a half into developing the site and everything behind the scenes, and things were starting to ramp up because Brent was starting to finish stuff, building the site. And I needed more time to dedicate to SIFTD. And I literally just cold turkey quit playing League of Legends one day. And I have not played it since. Because I'm afraid. I'm not kidding. I am afraid if I start playing it again, I will get addicted to it again. And I will start playing it every day. And I wasn't playing it that much. I would play 1 or 2 matches a day. Every day. And it just was taking too much time away. Because those matches last like 40 minutes. Some of them will last an hour almost sometimes. So I stopped playing, but I still know League of Legends very, very well, and I'm a big fan. So I was very excited to play a fighting game based upon League of Legends, and then I played it. And it's not that the game is bad, Matt. In fact, the game plays pretty well. It's a good tag fighter.
The game's very good.
Yeah.
And it's gorgeous.
It really is.
I adore the look of this game.
Me too.
It's beautiful to watch at all times. But it is one of the most wrong-headed fighting game releases in the history of the medium.
Well, it's a tag fighter, and it's free. And
free
y'all
tag,
can go download this if you want. It's free on pretty much every platform. But because it's free, there aren't many characters to play as. But it's a tag fighter.
But even if it wasn't free, there aren't many characters
right.
to play. There's 12
total characters in this game.
That's crazy.
It really is. For a tag fighter especially.
For any fighter.
Yeah.
The reason people get hooked into fighters, especially a new fighter, but especially also a licensed fighter, is because they find a character they love to play as. And the way you do that is you have a big enough roster that there's something everyone can find in there.
Yep.
And this game does not have that. And they only let you play half of the cast for free to begin with anyway.
Yep. And the one that I wanted, I'm a Teemo main, or I was. So I wanted to play as Teemo, and Teemo was not unlocked.
Yeah.
So I was very pissed off about that.
Well, there's 3 major blunders in this game. The first one is it's called 2XKO.
Yeah.
Which means nothing.
It should just be called League of Legends Fighting Game.
League of Legends Fighting Game, League of Legends Arcade Brawlers.
Whatever, yeah.
Whatever you want to throw in there to put, I don't know, the
League of
Legends and Arcane, the 2 brand names that everybody recognizes. What do you mean? Half the cast
League of Legends Arcane Brawl would have been perfect.
Yeah, half the cast is Arcane related, so why not put that?
They did go heavy in that too, the show, which makes sense, but for a League of Legends fan like me, I was pissed off about that.
Right, but you know what would solve that? If there were 32 characters.
Right, if there were more. Yeah.
Because you have to have because the other thing is the roster's too small. And the third thing they messed up is there's nothing to do.
Yeah.
There's no content. You need fighting games the thing you get all the time from casual people, and this is one of the problems with this game. It was made by hardcore fighting game fans.
And it was. Pedigree for the developers.
Oh, pedigree is unquestionable.
Beyond approach.
And the game is very well balanced. The game is, it is a phenomenally well-made game for tournament play. It is a terribly made game to sell to normal people.
Yeah.
Because the thing you have to remember is the top-selling fighting games, one of the main things they have are big rosters, so there's a lot of characters to pick from to find one that you like, and a ton of things to do other than just fight people online. And like, I understand that wasn't their focus. Is obviously not there in League of Legends either.
Yeah.
But League of
Legends has hundreds and hundreds of characters.
Exactly. So maybe you're going to fail on the content side one way or the other, which is too bad because again, there's a reason Mortal Kombat's the top-selling fighting game, and it's because there's so much to do as a single player, as an offline player. But at the very least, you need to make this thing successful with like just the general fan base of either League of Legends or fighting games. You need to give people a character to hook themselves into, and only 12 is not enough. And usually a game like this would maybe have the excuse that, well, we have to design all these characters from the ground up. We have to... No, in this case, you don't. You have to design the fighting from the ground up to make these characters.
But you have their attacks already.
How many League of Legends characters are
Hundreds.
there that you can draw from? And you already have a starting point. And you're like,
all the work is done.
This was not ready to be released until you had a roster of at least double what they had.
I agree.
Because I'll tell you this much, I do enjoy it, and I do think it's a very well made game, and it
plays very well.
It plays very well. I don't have a character in this game.
I haven't found one either. Well, the other thing too is Riot is trying to follow the same design that League of Legends has, where it's like, hey, this character is free to play for the next 5 days. Like, give it a go, and if you like it, then you can buy it. Like, they're trying to follow that same ideal with this fighting game, and that does not work with fighting games.
No, it was roundly rejected.
This is not the way to do a fighting game.
And there's an element of, I think, that must have thought that, like, well, if we make, like, the best, most balanced, most, like, tournament-focused, like, you know, and they kind of did, so, but doing that, but making a game that's really well-balanced and the gameplay is extremely, you know, thought out and intricate and there's a lot of depth to it, that's important, but that's how you make a fighting game last a long time.
Yeah.
It's not how you
get
sell
people
one.
Into it. Yeah.
It's not how you make it a phenomenon.
Yeah, build an audience. Yeah.
But you know what? I wouldn't even say it's too late on this game. In the
no,
sense,
it's not. I don't think it is
because
at all.
most people don't even know this thing exists.
Because they also didn't market it at all.
No, they didn't market it at all. There was no Super Bowl ad, which is crazy. Like, you have the money for that.
What's Riot spending his money on?
Right. But again, the good news is you can change the name.
Yeah.
You can build the roster slowly and relaunch it. I mean, they did have the thing where they cut half the team, which was terrible. But at the same, and
there's still 80 people left.
There's still 80 people.
That's
is
enough.
a crazy large team for an ongoing fighting game. Like, you can do. I mean, when I first heard that, I thought that they had 80 people and they cut them down to like 8. Yeah, right. Like, and I'm like, oh no, they got 80 people. I mean, it sucks that like half the team lost their job right after, because like clearly it's not their fault. I mean, what did you think you had the team for? Because obviously, these characters must take forever to make, tons of effort to make
way
them.
Too long.
Because look at that animation.
It is amazing.
Like, it's maybe the best animation I've ever seen in a 2D fighting.
It really is. It's pretty incredible.
I mean, it's certainly on Guilty Gear level.
I did have some screen tearing. Did you have a VSync?
I have a lot of screen tearing in the character intros.
Me too.
Yeah, and I don't know what that is.
I haven't seen that in a long time.
Very rare. I don't know how that happened. Not
so
the
right.
gameplay.
Like
but yeah, all the character intros have screen tearing.
Weird.
You're right.
But you're right, Matt. Like, the characters that they do have are good. The game looks great. It plays great. There's just not enough content.
Mm-hmm.
So it feels like Riot rushed it to market. Don't forget that, like, the week after this launch, Riot canceled Hytale, or got rid of Hytale. Mm-hmm. And then 3 weeks later, the guy who built Hytale releases it and gets rich.
Right.
It's like, what the hell are you doing over there? Like, on to our last topic of GameFace 469. We're going to talk about a game called Replaced. If you watched our SIFTD Video Game Fantasy League draft for 2026, then you know that I drafted this game pretty high. It's kind of a wild card in the draft, but I've been on this game for a while. It was pretty certain that it was going to come out this year, and now we're really certain it's coming out this year. It's a game called Replaced. It is a 2.5D action stealth point and click.
So there's not point and click. It's an action game.
No, there is. Eventually, there's point and click in this, Matt. Eventually, so let's set it up with the story, first of all. You're not actually...
This demo really throws you into the middle of shit.
It does, yeah.
I felt like I missed a bunch of, like, basic onboarding.
I had to do some research to uncover some of this stuff, but basically, the guy that you're playing as, you're not actually playing as him. you are playing as his AI. He has an accident and he dies, and his AI named Reach basically sets out and takes over his body and sets out to try to figure out how to bring his body back to life. Now, in the midst of that, you're living outside of Phoenix City, and Phoenix City is this, I'm assuming it's just Phoenix, but it's been renamed because basically America has been nuked by America's government. And so the rich people live inside the walls of Phoenix City, and the poor people, like us, live outside, and the rich people are performing experiments on the poor people to try to sustain their life inside the walls. And so there's that sort of a subplot happening where you're trying to uncover the conspiracy, but really the overarching plot is for you trying to revive your body with the help of your AI Reach. And so there's 3 tenets of the gameplay. There is sort of beat 'em up, side-scrolling, 2.5D action game stuff. There's stealth stuff. And then, as we mentioned earlier, eventually there's this little town outside the gates of Phoenix City that becomes your hub for the world. And that's where it's like a point-and-click LucasArts style game. Now, in the demo that Matt and I both played, that is not included. And that makes me very nervous. How the transition happens from what we played in this demo to a LucasArts style point-and-click.
I think that's like 1% of the game.
Really?
Like, I think it's only in that, from what I can see, it's only in that hub area. It's like a menu, basically.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I don't think that's a main part of the gameplay.
Yeah, we didn't get to experience it. All I was
This
going
is
off
mostly
of was
this is
previews
mostly
that
a
people wrote.
successor to like things like Flashback and Inside
Yeah.
and things like that.
Yep, it definitely has. Well, people have been comparing the combat to Batman Arkham, which
Yeah.
I think it looks more like Arkham than it actually feels.
I'm gonna say I thought this demo was a little disappointing.
Really?
Not because it's bad, but because it's a lot more by the numbers than you think it is. It's like, because the way when you see the trailers and sort of the stuff for this, it looks like something you've never played before in this space.
Yeah.
And when you play it, it's like, oh no, this is very standard. They sounded like the fucking combat was a bigger element, and it's really just tapping the button and rolling back and forth.
It
like,
is.
There's not much to this.
So the combat in this is really like 2 buttons. It's an attack button and a counter button.
Yeah.
And a rolling button.
And a gun.
And a gun.
And which it tells you you're not supposed to have until much later in the game. Anyway, so.
And the gun, you refill, it doesn't have ammo. You refill the ammo by landing melee attacks. So it creates this yin and yang where you have to keep using your melee to use the gun.
And it really is just, it's like a nice finisher or a way to shoot someone from a distance. And it does freak the other enemies out. Like it does buy you like a second where everyone kind of like reacts to you.
And the gun is kind of a one-hit kill. Like it typically kills every enemy with one shot.
It certainly trivializes the boss fight at the end of the day.
Yeah.
There's a lot of interesting like menu stuff in there where you're like scanning stuff with his PDA and then it zooms into the screen onto his PDA, but it's like kind of a visual like cheat.
Just the sound effect of the little wheel.
The wheel is fun, yeah. Like because it's, I mean, again, it's like the '60s in an alternate universe, so everything's not super advanced.
Yeah.
Despite the fact that there's an AI, like a sentient AI. Like, it's a cool aesthetic. It all really works.
I like how it uses the depth with like the objects in the foreground.
Yeah, moving up and down the stairs really works. Like,
and there's a little bit of going into and out of the world, but not a lot.
Yeah, but like enough that it sells it. Like you feel like it's a moving place. There's a lot of foreground stuff that you that's cool. Like earlier on, you saw the sniper from the train like shoots with it and it hits in the foreground, and like they play with the depth of field a lot. Like, there's a lot of cool stuff like that.
Yeah, there's a lot of nice little touches like that for sure. This game is only right now, I'm sure eventually this will change, but right now it's only scheduled for PC and Xbox, and it is a day one game on Game Pass.
I cannot imagine this won't be on everything by the end of the year.
Definitely, yeah.
Because this feels like it would work well on everything. It feels like it would be good for Switch. It feels, there's no reason not to put it on PlayStation, certainly.
This game has been delayed a couple times. It's supposed to come earlier than this.
But this is all right. Look at the shadows.
Oh, yeah.
Like, that looks so good.
I mean, did you see the blood spurting out of the guy's neck laying on the ground over there? Like, there's all kinds of
like,
little
the details.
details.
Incredible. I love all the aesthetic presentation of this
But in
game.
the end, the gameplay does feel pretty rote.
It is pretty standard, but like not bad.
No.
It's just like don't expect this to be a revolution in how these kind of 2.5D action things play. But again, it's a really good. I mean, as we always say, execution's way more important to me than innovation, and this thing is executing
very well.
Very, very well.
Yeah, it does its thing quite well. I had a lot of fun with the demo. I didn't want it to end.
Yeah, I was sad how short this demo was.
Yeah, it is pretty short. You guys can go play
The Eternal
it
Life of Goldman, way bigger demo.
Oh, really?
Much bigger demo.
It is PC, Xbox, and Game Pass, so maybe April will be a good month to pluck down $30 for Game Pass and get this and a bunch of other stuff. But I did have fun playing it. It does not have a spark that I was hoping it was going to have, but maybe in the final game it will. So I'm still excited for this game. There's still, I don't feel like there's any game that looks like it. That's for sure.
You know, like I guess it kind of looks like Dead Cells to some. You know, there's comparable stuff, but nothing doing this same sort of setting and storytelling.
But anyway, there you go. That is Replaced. It is on my fantasy team, so I hope it ends up being a little bit better than what I just played. But I still enjoyed it. But I expected it to have.
I feel like the slice of this is pretty minor.
Yeah.
I feel like you don't get a huge taste of what the whole thing's going to be like. So
We'll see.
I imagine it'll play better.
That's going to do it for GameFace episode 469 right here on Sifted at sifted.net. Another reminder, we are supported pretty much 100% at patreon.com/sifted. Head on over there. If you pledge $5 or more per month, you get all our content early. You get this show several days early. You don't get TLDR quite as long. Delay is quite as long for TLDR. We want our YouTube people to be able to consume that in a timely manner. But pretty much all our content packed or factory, you get a week early. All our other stuff at least 3 or 4 days early. It's a nice little thing there. If you can help us out, we'd really appreciate it. And if you don't have any money, you can help us out if you're an Amazon Prime subscriber. If you're watching on YouTube, go down below and figure out how to connect your Amazon account to your Twitch Prime account. Connect those two together, you can give us a free $2.50 every month. And you do have to re-up it every month, and that is a pain in the butt. We totally get it. But to give us a free $2.50, it takes like 5 seconds. So it'd be cool if you could do that. And if you can't do that, and a lot of people are no longer Amazon Prime subscribers because the price keeps going up, you can still help us out just by liking the show, retweeting the show when we tweet it out, leaving comments on the show, sharing it with your friends, sharing it on social media. Even with no money and no Amazon Prime, you can still help us out a ton. One thing I can promise before we leave is that absolutely next week is going to be Resident Evil week.
The Bruce Campbell thing I couldn't remember that he did a voice in the game was Tachyon the Fringe.
Ah, interesting.
It goes way back.
Okay. But anyway, next week, Resident Evil Requiem. As you probably saw today, the embargo did not break for the reviews of Resident Evil, so I have to keep it under my hat for now.
Yes, tomorrow.
But we'll be back on Tuesday, next Tuesday, right here at twitch.tv/SiftedGames at 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Eastern, and we will review the brand new mainline Resident Evil right here on GameFace. So everybody, have yourselves an awesome week filled with awesome games. GameFace is up and out.